Well, in Parliament today, one SNP minister sighed and told us you can't control what you can't control. And tonight, this is a party that appears to have lost total control of its narrative. The arrest really couldn't have come at a worse time, and it totally overshadowed the First Minister's speech today. And it was actually an interesting speech where he reversed some of Nicola Sturgeon's key policies on, for example, alcohol ads, on social care. Afterwards, I asked Humza Yousaf whether he was trying to distance himself from his old ally, who was actually conspicuously absent today. He said, no, these decisions make good business sense. And by the way, I've never called myself the continuity candidate. That's what you're calling me. Is this a sign that he's going to be distancing himself? Let's see. But one thing is for sure, this is a party tonight in a deepening crisis.
Certainly is not helpful.
The ship he came here to steady, torpedoed by another arrest. The SNP's so-called continuity candidate meant to set out his stall today. Instead, a second party official is being questioned over how party cash was spent. Can you get this back on track?
Absolutely, yeah.
MSP and party treasurer Colin Beattie was arrested this morning, just hours before Humza Yousaf's first speech as First Minister. A rallying cry designed to unite his MSPs. They left a meeting ahead of it stony-faced. What do you think this means for your party going forward?
Continue to fight for the interests of Scotland.
Do you think you'll be able to do that with all that's been going on?
For the interests of Scotland.
How do you think the party is going to be able to recover from this? Do you think Sturgeon should be suspended? Do you think that would help you recover in the polls a bit?
I don't know how many times I can say to you. I'm not going to comment on an ongoing police investigation.
His former challenger was more upbeat. Kate, do you think you'd be able to clean up this mess better?
Well, I'm on my way to hear what the First Minister is going to do on tackling poverty, investing in our public services and hopefully growing the economy.
Will the party be able to reset the agenda, or is it all over?
The Scottish Government is today publishing their policy prospectus, New Leadership, A Fresh Start for Scotland, which will set out how this government, the government I lead, will address our challenges, build on the successes of the past, but also capitalise on our strengths.
And just as the SNP talk of new leadership, the Conservatives are calling for its former leader to be suspended from the party.
The SNP is in total meltdown. And leaked footage has shown Nicola Sturgeon trying to shut down scrutiny mere months before the investigation began.
Newly emerged, this is the video in question. Nicola Sturgeon reassuring the party top brass in 2021 that their finances had never been better.
The party's never been in a stronger financial position than it is right now.
Filmed, according to the Sunday Mail, just as officials resigned, saying they'd been denied sight of party accounts. Questions are now swirling over how more than £600,000 raised for another independence referendum have been spent. Questions the police are now trying to answer after arresting and later releasing Sturgeon's husband, Peter Murrell, the SNP's former chief executive, and towing away a caravan bought by the SNP last year. It's a prosaic end to a career that dominated Scottish politics for nearly a decade. Sturgeon here at her peak after an election landslide in 2015. Scotland's new First Minister cuts a lonelier figure, trying to shore up a party in turmoil. Its star player gone, its chief executive resigned and under police investigation, and then now, today, its treasurer arrested just as Humza Yousaf gears up to make his first major political speech. The SNP swept all but 3 seats in 2015's general election. Last time round, they won 45, but pollsters now believe they could be on course to lose around a dozen more.
Still ahead in the polls, but the gap between them and particularly the Labour Party in Scotland has began to narrow to the extent that I think when the general election happens next year, Labour would now, I think, be quite disappointed if it didn't win at least between 10 and 15 seats.
What does that mean then for the independence movement?
Support for independence is still around 48%. Well, support for the SNP now is below 40% in virtually every poll that's being done. So there is now a big difference.
And I think in 3 short weeks, we already have a lame duck First Minister and a lame duck government.
It was a gift for Labour, though.
Look, we have to rise to the opportunity I think people across this country are crying out for change. We now have to demonstrate how we will be that change.
The battle for those voters is on. The SNP, a party that needs to remould itself and remould itself fast, old alliances aside. Are you still a continuity candidate? Are you still a continuity politician?
You guys can label me what you want. I think you labelled me the continuity. All I've ever said is that I want to build on the success this government has had, and that success, of course, is winning election after election.
Success tonight in jeopardy, just as this new leader tries to turn the page. Well, another worry perhaps for Humza Yousaf tonight is that supporters of his challenger, Kate Forbes, have been banding together to promote what they say is her vision of social justice for Scotland and what that should look like. And that's interesting because the SNP isn't factional in this way. It hasn't really done parties within parties before, but perhaps it's just another sign of the way in which this crisis is reshaping the party.